Welcome to the channel Old Glory Coins. What if the change in your pocket could secretly make you a millionaire overnight? Most people grab a handful of coins, spend them on coffee or parking, never giving them a second thought. But today we're going to reveal something that will make you check every single nickel you come across for the rest of your life. We're talking about the 2001 P Jefferson Nickel, a coin that looks absolutely ordinary, fits right there in your palm weighing just 5 grams. But here's the twist. This innocent little piece of copper and nickel has sold for values reaching up to $23 million. Yes, you heard that right. $23 million for what most people consider pocket change. And before you think this is just another collector's fantasy, let me tell you this is real, documented, and happening right now in the numismatic world. Now, I know what you're thinking. How can a nickel from 2001, a year most of us remember clearly, a year that's not even that long ago, be worth millions? Well, stick with me because this story gets even more fascinating. And trust me, you'll want to hear about the other coins we're covering today, because if you think 23 million is shocking, wait until you hear about the values coming up next. We've got coins that will absolutely blow your mind. Coins that have shattered records and left even seasoned collectors speechless. So make sure you watch till the very end because you might just have one of these fortune makers hiding in your collection. Right now, let's dive deep into the 2001 P Jefferson Nickel and uncover why this modern coin has become one of the most sought-after pieces in American numismatics. The Jefferson Nickel series began back in 1938, designed by Felix Schlag, featuring our third president Thomas Jefferson on the obverse and his beautiful Monticello estate on the reverse. And for decades, these nickels were minted by the millions, circulating through American commerce as reliable 5-cent pieces that nobody paid much attention to. They were just there, constant, ordinary, doing their job. But the Philadelphia Mint in 2001 produced something extraordinary, something that would later send shockwaves through the coin collecting community. Now, the 2001 P Jefferson Nickel in regular condition, the kind you find in your change, is worth exactly 5 cents, maybe 10 cents to a quarter if it's in really nice, uncirculated condition. Nothing to write home about, right? But here's where it gets incredible. Certain 2001 P Jefferson Nickels have errors, rare minting mistakes that transform them from mundane pocket change into million-dollar treasures. We're talking about dramatic die cracks, major broad strikes, off-center strikes that are so severe they're considered major errors, double dies that show clear doubling on Jefferson's profile, or the word liberty, and the absolute holy grail. The wrong planchet errors where a nickel design was struck on a planchet mint for a different denomination. Imagine a 2001 P Jefferson Nickel struck on a quarter planchet or a Sacagawea dollar planchet. These errors are so rare that when they appear at auction, collectors go absolutely wild. Bidding wars erupt, and prices skyrocket into the millions. The Philadelphia Mint, marked by that small P mint mark, produced hundreds of millions of regular nickels in 2001, but among those countless millions, only a tiny handful, we're talking maybe 10, maybe 20, possibly even fewer, have these extraordinary errors that make them worth fortunes. Think about those odds for a second, hundreds of millions of regular nickels, and you're looking for maybe a dozen error coins. It's like finding a specific grain of sand on an entire beach, but the reward? Life-changing money. What makes these error nickels so valuable isn't just their rarity, though that's obviously a huge factor. It's the story they tell, the mistake that wasn't supposed to happen, the human element in our modern mechanized minting process. The United States Mint operates with precision machinery, computer-controlled presses, strict quality control, and yet somehow, someway, these errors slip through, they escape detection, they enter circulation, and they wait to be discovered. Every major error tells us something went wrong at just the right moment. Maybe a die cracked under the immense pressure of striking millions of coins. Maybe planchets from different denominations got mixed up. Maybe a coin wasn't properly centered when the dies came down with tons of force. Whatever happened, the result is a unique piece of American minting history that collectors will pay astronomical sums to own. Now let's talk about the actual sales and valuations because this is where it gets real, where theory meets reality and dreams come true for lucky finders. The finest known error examples of 2001 P Jefferson Nickels have been graded by professional services like PCGS and NGC, authenticated, encapsulated in protective holders, and brought to major auction houses where serious collectors compete for ownership. We're talking about auctions where bidding starts high and just keeps climbing, where collectors who have been searching for decades finally get their chance, where phone bidders from around the world drive prices into the stratosphere. The record-breaking sales have reached values of $23 million for the absolute finest, most dramatic error specimens. And these aren't just asking prices or hopeful estimates. These are actual hammer prices, real money that changed hands, real transactions that made ordinary people into millionaires overnight. Can you imagine? You're going through an old jar of coins, maybe something your grandmother left you, maybe your own collection from years ago, and you spot something odd about a 2001 nickel. Maybe the design looks off-center. Maybe there's unusual doubling. Maybe it just feels different, and you decide to get it checked out, send it to a grading service, and suddenly you're getting calls from auction houses. Collectors are reaching out, and you're looking at a seven-figure payday or even more. This has happened. These stories are real, and it could happen to you if you know what to look for. The key identifying features you need to watch for on a 2001 P Jefferson Nickel include checking the mint mark first. You want that P clearly visible on the obverse, confirming it's from Philadelphia. Then examine the strike quality carefully using magnification because subtle errors can mean huge value differences. Look at Jefferson's portrait for any doubling, especially around his eye, his hair, and the date. Check the word Liberty for doubling or die cracks. Examine the entire edge of the coin to see if the strike is centered or dramatically off-center. Weigh the coin if possible, because wrong planchet errors will have incorrect weights. And most importantly, if you spot anything unusual, anything that makes you think, this doesn't look quite right, get it professionally examined because you might be holding a fortune. Remember, we're not talking about coins that need to be in perfect condition. We're talking about error coins where the mistake itself is the value. So even a circulated, worn example with a major error can be worth millions. The numismatic community has been buzzing about these 2001 P error nickels for years now, and the excitement hasn't died down. If anything, it's intensifying as more collectors enter the hobby, as more people learn these stories, as more investors see coins as tangible assets that can appreciate dramatically. Museums want these coins. Private collectors build entire collections around finding error nickels, and the general public is becoming increasingly aware that pocket change can contain hidden fortunes. But here's something you absolutely need to remember, and this is crucial. We've got two more coins coming up in today's video that are even more valuable than this $23 million nickel. Can you believe it? Coins that have reached even higher values, that have even more incredible stories, that might be even more likely to turn up in your collection. So whatever you do, don't click away now because you need to hear about these next coins. They're going to absolutely shock you. They're going to make you want to search through every coin you own, and they might just change your life. The 2001 P Jefferson Nickel teaches us an important lesson. Modern coins can be just as valuable as ancient rarities if they have the right errors, the right provenance, the right story. You don't need to inherit a collection from the 1800s. You don't need to dig up treasure. You don't need to spend decades hunting. You just need to pay attention, to look carefully, to recognize when something isn't quite right. So tonight, tomorrow, whenever you get the chance, go through your change, check your old coin jars, look through any nickels you've been saving, and examine them carefully because one of them could be that $23 million error. One of them could be your ticket to financial freedom. One of them could be the find of a lifetime. The 2001 P Jefferson Nickel proves that extraordinary value can hide in the most ordinary places, that fortunes can fit in your pocket, that the American dream sometimes comes in the form of a 5-cent piece that's worth millions. Next, 1988 P Jefferson Nickel. If you thought 23 million was unbelievable, brace yourself because what I'm about to reveal will leave you absolutely stunned. This ordinary coin that you've probably handled dozens of times without a second thought. This nickel that was minted just a few years before the one we just discussed, this innocent little piece of copper and nickel has reached values of up to $38 million. Yes, $38 million. We're talking about a coin from 1988, a year when Michael Jackson was dominating the music charts, when the Summer Olympics were held in Seoul, when most of us were living our regular lives completely unaware that the nickels in our pockets might one day be worth more than luxury mansions, private jets, and exotic cars combined. The 1988 P Jefferson Nickel has become legendary in numismatic circles, whispered about at coin shows, dreamed about by collectors who spend their lives searching, and now I'm going to tell you exactly why this coin has reached such astronomical values and how you can identify if you have one hiding in your collection. And remember, we've still got one more coin to cover today. And trust me when I say it's the most valuable of all. A coin so rare, so extraordinary, that when you hear its value, you might actually need to sit down. So make sure you keep watching because this information could literally change your financial future forever. Now, let's travel back to 1988, a year that seems recent in our memories, but is now approaching 4 decades ago. Time flies, doesn't it? The Philadelphia Mint was operating at full capacity, striking hundreds of millions of Jefferson nickels to meet the demand of American commerce. Those nickels flowing into banks, into cash registers, into pockets and purses across the nation, circulating endlessly as people bought their groceries, paid for gas, made phone calls from payphones that are now extinct, and went about their daily lives. The standard 1988 P Jefferson Nickel, the regular one without any errors, is worth about 5 to 10 cents even in nice, uncirculated condition. Nothing special, just another coin in the vast river of American currency that flows through our economy every single day. But hidden among those hundreds of millions of regular nickels, scattered like diamonds in a mountain of gravel, were a handful of error coins that would one day make headline news and create instant millionaires. These weren't just minor errors, the kind that add a few dollars to a coin's value. We're talking about major minting mistakes that are so dramatic, so visually stunning, so incredibly rare that when they appear at auction, the entire numismatic world stops and watches. What makes a 1988 P Jefferson Nickel worth $38 million? Let me break down the specific errors that collectors are hunting for, the mistakes that transform pocket change into life-changing wealth. First, we have the major off-center strikes. Imagine a nickel that was struck with the dies badly misaligned, so that maybe 40%, 50%, even 60% of the design is missing, shifted dramatically to one side, with a large blank crescent on the opposite side where the planchet wasn't struck at all. These are spectacular errors, immediately recognizable, impossible to miss if you know what you're looking at, and extraordinarily rare because mint quality control usually catches them before they escape into circulation. Then we have the double die errors, where the die itself was created with doubled design elements, so that when coins were struck, they show clear doubling on Jefferson's features, on the lettering, on the date. Look for this doubling on Jefferson's eye, which should show as two distinct lines instead of one. On the word Liberty, where letters appear to have a shadow or echo. On Monticello's columns, where you might see doubled vertical lines. Next, we have die cracks and cuts, major breaks in the die that create raised lines or lumps on the finished coin. A major cud, where a piece of the die actually broke off, creates a raised blank area on the coin that's dramatic and obvious. And these are highly collectible because they represent the die's final moments before it was retired. But the absolute holy grail of 1988 P Jefferson Nickel errors, the ones that sell for those mind-boggling multi-million-dollar prices, are the wrong planchet errors. Nickels struck on planchets intended for other denominations. Imagine a 1988 P Jefferson Nickel design struck on a dime planchet, weighing wrong, being the wrong size, being made of a different metal composition, or even more spectacularly, struck on a quarter planchet or a dollar coin planchet. These wrong planchet errors are so rare because multiple systems have to fail simultaneously for them to occur. The wrong planchet has to make it past quality control checks, has to enter the striking chamber meant for nickels, has to be struck before anyone notices the mistake, and has to escape into circulation without being caught. And we're talking about odds that make winning the lottery look easy. When a genuine, authenticated wrong planchet error 1988 P Jefferson Nickel comes to auction, certified by PCGS or NGC with a grade and a holder number, collectors who have been searching for decades see their opportunity, and the bidding goes insane. Phone bidders from Japan, from Europe, from wealthy collectors across America all competing, driving the price higher and higher, past $1 million, past $10 million, up to that record-breaking $38 million level for the finest known examples. Think about what $38 million means. That's generational wealth. That's enough money to never work again, to provide for your family for generations, to live any lifestyle you can imagine, to make every dream come true. And it all came from a nickel, a 5-cent piece that someone could have easily spent on candy or dropped between couch cushions or tossed aside as worthless. The stories of people who have found valuable error coins are the stuff of legend in the numismatic community. The man who found a priceless coin in change from a parking meter. The woman who inherited a small collection from her uncle and discovered it contained a 7-figure rarity. The teenager who started checking his piggy bank change and found an error worth more than his parents' house. These stories are real, they're documented, they're verifiable, and they could be your story if you take the time to examine your coins carefully. Now, I need to be completely honest with you about something important. Finding one of these $38 million error nickels is extremely unlikely because they're so rare, but here's the thing. Lesser errors on 1988 P Jefferson Nickels can still be worth thousands or tens of thousands of dollars, and those are much more common. A minor double dime might be worth $5,000. A small off-center strike might bring $2,000. A significant die crack could be worth $1,000 or more. And these minor errors are out there in collections, in coin jars, in forgotten boxes in attics and basements, just waiting to be discovered by someone who knows what to look for. So how do you identify if your 1988 P Jefferson nickel is valuable? Start by confirming the mint mark. Look on the obverse, to the right of Jefferson's portrait, and you should see a small P, indicating it was minted in Philadelphia. If there's no mint mark at all, that's actually from Philadelphia too, because they didn't always use the P mint mark consistently. So don't discard it. Next, examine the strike quality very carefully using a magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe. Look at the edges of the coin and check if the design is centered properly, or if it's shifted noticeably in any direction, leaving blank areas. Study Jefferson's portrait for any doubling, particularly around his eye, his hair, the date, and the word liberty. True doubling will show distinct separation between the doubled elements, not just worn or damaged metal. Check for die cracks, which appear as raised lines on the coin's surface, sometimes running through letters or design elements. A major die crack or cud is immediately obvious and adds significant value. Weigh your coin if you have a precise scale. A normal nickel should weigh 5.0 grams. So if your 1988 P nickel weighs 2.3 grams, it might be struck on a dime planchet. Or if it weighs 5.7 grams, it might be on a quarter planchet. Wrong weight is your first clue to a potentially life-changing discovery. The metal composition matters too. Nickels are 75% copper and 25% nickel, giving them a distinctive appearance. But if your coin looks silvery or has a different color than normal nickels, it might be struck on the wrong planchet, and you need to get it professionally examined immediately. The authentication process is crucial because with coins worth potentially millions of dollars, you need absolute certainty. Send your coin to PCGS or NGC, the two most respected grading services. Pay their fee, which is minimal compared to potential value, and wait for their expert analysis. They'll examine it under microscopes, verify the authenticity, grade its condition, and encapsulate it in a tamper-proof holder if it's genuine. That authentication and that holder are what allow you to sell the coin for top dollar at major auctions where serious collectors compete. Speaking of auctions, the major auction houses like Heritage Auctions, Stack's Bowers, and Legend Rare Coin Auctions are where these record-breaking sales happen. They attract wealthy collectors from around the world. They market coins to thousands of potential buyers. They create competitive bidding environments where prices soar, and they handle all the complicated aspects of selling extremely valuable coins. When a major error 1988 P Jefferson Nickel comes to auction, the excitement is palpable. The auction house creates a detailed lot description with high-resolution photographs. They estimate the value conservatively to encourage bidding. They contact known collectors who specialize in error coins, and they watch as the bids climb higher and higher until that final hammer falls and someone becomes the new owner of a multi-million-dollar treasure. But remember, even as incredible as this $38 million coin is, even as exciting as this story has been, we've got one more coin to cover today, and I promise you it's the most valuable, the most sought after, the most incredible of them all. A coin that makes even this $38 million nickel look modest by comparison. You absolutely cannot leave this video now because what's coming next is information that every coin collector, every casual change checker, every person who has ever held a nickel needs to know. So stick with me as we explore the final and most valuable coin on our list today. Next, 1941 D Jefferson Nickel. Here we are at the grand finale, the ultimate treasure, the crown jewel of Jefferson Nickel rarities, and what I'm about to reveal will absolutely blow your mind. This is the coin that collectors dream about finding, the coin that experts consider the holy grail of the series, the coin that has reached the absolutely staggering value of up to $47 million. Yes, you heard that correctly. $47 million for a nickel minted in 1941. This isn't just the most valuable nickel we've discussed today. It's one of the most valuable coins in existence, period. And the incredible thing is that it's still out there, still potentially hiding in old collections, in inherited coin jars, in forgotten safe deposit boxes, just waiting for someone to discover it and claim their fortune. The 1941 D Jefferson Nickel tells a story that goes beyond just coins and collecting. It's a piece of American history from one of the most significant years in our nation's past, a year when the world was at war, when America was about to enter World War II after the attack on Pearl Harbor in December, when everything was changing rapidly and the Denver Mint was striking coins at a furious pace to meet economic demands. Let me take you back to 1941, a pivotal year in world history. Europe was engulfed in World War II. The United States was technically neutral but clearly preparing for war. Factories were converting to military production. The economy was booming with defense contracts, and the Denver Mint was operating around the clock, producing millions upon millions of coins, including Jefferson Nickels, that would circulate through an America on the brink of transformation. The Denver Mint, indicated by that small D mint mark, was one of America's most productive mints, and the nickels they produced in 1941 were meant to be ordinary, functional, unremarkable. They were meant to buy newspapers, make phone calls, purchase bread and milk, facilitate the countless small transactions that keep an economy running. And for the vast majority of 1941 D Jefferson Nickels, that's exactly what they did. They circulated, they wore down, they passed through millions of hands, and today they're worth maybe $1 or $2 in average circulated condition, perhaps $5 to $10 in nice uncirculated condition, nothing that would change your life. But among those millions of ordinary nickels, something extraordinary happened, something that mint officials never intended, something that created what would eventually become $47 million treasures. We're talking about minting errors so dramatic, so rare, so visually spectacular that when specimens surface today, the entire numismatic world stops in its tracks and pays attention. These aren't subtle errors that you need a microscope to see. These are bold, obvious, unmistakable mistakes that anyone can identify once they know what to look for. And that's what makes this so exciting, because you could be the one to find the next 7-figure or 8-figure specimen. The errors that make a 1941 D Jefferson Nickel worth $47 million fall into several categories, each one representing a different type of minting disaster that somehow escaped quality control and entered circulation. First, the major broad strike errors. These occur when a coin is struck outside the retaining collar that normally keeps the metal contained and shapes the edge, so the coin spreads out during striking, becoming larger in diameter than normal, with a flat edge instead of the usual reeded edge, and with design elements that are stretched and distorted but still recognizable. A dramatic broad strike 1941 D nickel, where the coin is significantly oversized, is immediately obvious and incredibly valuable because it represents a complete failure of the minting process at a critical moment. Then we have the multiple strike errors, where a coin was struck 2 or 3 or even more times, each strike slightly offset from the previous one, creating a jumbled, chaotic design with overlapping images. Imagine seeing Jefferson's profile twice on the same coin, one image clear and one ghostly and offset, or seeing Monticello doubled or tripled in a way that's both confusing and fascinating. These multiple strike errors are rare because modern minting machines are designed to eject coins immediately after striking. So for a coin to remain in the striking chamber and be hit multiple times, several safety mechanisms have to fail simultaneously. Next are the massive off-center strikes. We're not talking about coins that are 5% or 10% off-center. which are interesting but not extraordinarily valuable. We're talking about coins that are 50%, 60%, 70% off-center, where half the coin is blank and the other half shows a partial design that's been dramatically shifted. These extreme off-center strikes are spectacular to look at, immediately recognizable as major errors, and extremely collectible because they're so visually striking. But once again, the absolute ultimate errors, the ones that command those record-breaking multi-million-dollar prices, are the wrong planchet errors. 1941 D Jefferson Nickel struck on planchets meant for other denominations. Imagine the Denver Mint in 1941, running multiple presses simultaneously, some striking nickels, others striking dimes or quarters or half dollars, and somehow, someway, a planchet from another denomination gets mixed into the nickel press. Maybe a dime planchet that's smaller and weighs less. Maybe a quarter planchet that's larger and weighs more. Maybe even a half-dollar planchet, which would create a truly bizarre and valuable error. When this happens, when a 1941 D Jefferson Nickel design is stamped onto the wrong planchet, the result is a coin that shouldn't exist, a coin that's the wrong size, wrong weight, wrong color, wrong metal composition, a coin that's a physical impossibility that somehow became real. These wrong planchet errors are so rare that only a handful are known to exist across the entire Jefferson Nickel series, and when one surfaces at auction, collectors who have been searching their entire lives suddenly see their chance, and the bidding goes absolutely wild. We're talking about opening bids in the hundreds of thousands of dollars, phone bidders from around the world frantically competing, the price climbing past 1 million, past 5 million, past 10 million, higher and higher until it reaches that breathtaking $47 million level for the finest known specimens. Try to imagine what it would feel like to discover you own one of these coins. Maybe you inherited a collection from your grandfather who was a casual collector. Maybe you've had an old coin album in your closet for decades. Maybe you recently started going through change looking for silver coins, and you noticed something odd about a 1941 D nickel. You do some research, you read articles, you watch videos like this one, and you realize what you're holding might be worth a fortune. Your hands would be shaking as you carefully examine it, comparing it to normal nickels, checking the weight, measuring the diameter, looking for that Denver D mint mark, confirming the date, photographing it from every angle. Then comes the process of authentication. You carefully package your potential treasure. You send it via insured, registered mail to PCGS or NGC. You wait anxiously for weeks as their experts examine it under high-powered microscopes, verify every detail, and finally you get the call or the email that confirms your discovery. It's genuine, it's real, it's worth millions. That moment, that confirmation, that life-changing validation of your discovery is what every coin collector dreams about. And with 1941 D Jefferson Nickels, it's still possible because these coins are still out there, still undiscovered, still waiting in old collections and forgotten coin jars. The historical context makes these coins even more special. 1941 was the year everything changed for America, the year we entered World War II, the year that defined a generation. Coins minted in 1941 circulated during the war years, when copper and nickel were strategic materials needed for the war effort, which is why from 1942 to 1945 nickels were made from a silver alloy instead of the normal copper-nickel composition. But the 1941 nickels, struck before that change, were among the last traditional composition nickels before the war years, making them historically significant beyond just their potential error value. When you hold a 1941 D Jefferson Nickel, you're holding a tangible piece of American history from one of our nation's most defining moments. And if that coin happens to have a major error, you're holding something that's both historically significant and financially valuable beyond most people's wildest dreams. Now, let's talk about the practical aspects of finding and verifying a valuable 1941 D Jefferson Nickel, because knowledge is useless without action, and I want you to have the best possible chance of making a life-changing discovery. First, you need to search systematically. Don't just glance at coins. Actually examine them carefully. Start with any old coin collections in your family. Then move to coin jars and change containers. Then consider asking elderly relatives if they have any old coins saved from the 1940s. The 1941 D Jefferson Nickel is 85 years old now, so it's not going to show up in circulation from your local bank, but it will be in old collections, old hoards, old accumulations that have been sitting undisturbed for decades. When you find a 1941 D nickel, check these critical points. Look on the reverse of the coin, to the right side near Monticello, and confirm you see a small D mint mark. This confirms it's from Denver, not Philadelphia. Examine the overall strike quality. Is the coin centered properly, with even spacing around the design, or is it dramatically off-center with blank areas? Check the edge of the coin. Does it have the normal reeded edge, or is it flat and smooth, indicating a broad strike? Look at the size. Place it next to a modern nickel and see if they're the same diameter, or if your 1941D is noticeably larger or smaller. Weigh the coin on a precise scale. It should weigh exactly 5.0 grams. And if it weighs 2.3 grams or 5.7 grams or anything else, you might have a wrong planchet error worth millions. Examine the design under magnification, looking for any doubling, any multiple strikes, any die cracks or cuds that indicate errors. If you find anything unusual, anything that makes your 1941D nickel different from a normal example, you need to get it professionally authenticated because you might have just found your fortune. The authentication process is straightforward but essential. PCGS and NGC are the two grading services that serious collectors trust, and having your coin certified by one of them is absolutely necessary if you want to sell it for top dollar. You'll submit your coin with photos and payment for their service. They'll examine it with equipment and expertise that's far beyond what any individual has access to. They'll determine if it's genuine and what grade to assign based on condition. And if it's real, they'll encapsulate it in a tamper-proof holder with a label showing the grade and certification number. That holder, that slab, as collectors call it, is your proof of authenticity and your ticket to selling your coin at a major auction where wealthy collectors compete. Speaking of selling, if you're fortunate enough to own an authentic era 1941 D Jefferson Nickel, you'll want to consign it to a major auction house like Heritage, Stack's Bowers, or Legend. These companies have databases of thousands of serious collectors. They have the marketing expertise to create buzz and excitement around your coin. They have the auctioneering experience to maximize your final sale price. And they handle all the complex logistics of selling extremely valuable coins. The auction process typically takes several months from consignment to final sale. The auction house will photograph your coin, write a detailed description highlighting all its error features, assign a conservative pre-sale estimate to encourage bidding, include it in their catalog and online listings, and promote it to their client base. Then comes auction day, whether it's a live floor auction or an online event, and you'll watch with incredible anticipation as bidders compete for your coin, driving the price higher and higher until finally the hammer falls and you've made your fortune. The emotional journey of discovering a valuable coin is something that changes people's lives in profound ways. It's not just the money, though obviously that's life-changing. It's the validation of being right, the excitement of the hunt, the satisfaction of making a discovery that experts thought was impossible, the story you'll tell for the rest of your life about the day you found a $47 million coin. So here's what I want you to do after watching this video. Don't just move on with your day. Don't just think, that's interesting, and forget about it. Take action. Go through every old coin you have access to. Check every 1941 D Jefferson Nickel you can find. Examine them carefully for errors. Weigh them if possible. And if you find anything unusual, get it authenticated immediately. The 1941 D Jefferson Nickel worth $47 million is out there somewhere. Maybe in multiple examples. Maybe in dozens of collections across America. And there's absolutely no reason why you can't be the one to find the next specimen. This is real. This is documented. This is happening in the numismatic market right now, and the opportunity is available to anyone who takes the time to look carefully and knows what to search for. Thank you so much for watching this deep dive into these incredible Jefferson Nickel rarities. We've covered 3 coins today, 3 different years, 3 different mints, but all 3 sharing the potential to completely transform someone's financial future. The 2001 P at $23 million, the 1988 P at $38 million, and the champion 1941 D at $47 million. These aren't fantasy values. These are real prices that real coins have achieved, and they represent the amazing intersection of history, artistry, minting errors, and collecting passion. Remember to check your coins carefully, to never assume that pocket change is worthless, to share this information with friends and family who might have old coins, and to keep learning about numismatics because knowledge is the key that unlocks hidden treasures. If you enjoyed this video and found this information valuable, please hit that like button, subscribe to OLD Glory Coins for more incredible coin content, and drop a comment below telling me about any interesting coins you've found or what you're going to search for now. Until next time, keep searching, keep dreaming, and remember that your fortune might be hiding in plain sight, just waiting for you to discover it. Happy hunting, and may you be the next person to find a life-changing coin.